When you are showing up like an invisible expert, you probably have the most amazing thing on the planet. You solve a big problem, you have a lot of passion, but for some reason, your ideal clients are not saying yes. And there's a reason why. You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 398. And today I'm going to share with you why you could be stuck in invisible expert syndrome, even though you're super talented and you've got some really amazing talent that can help people solve a big problem. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey guys, it's Melanie Benson here, Authority Amplifier to expert-based entrepreneurs. And today's part 3 in this special series that I'm doing this summer. And my desire to do this series started simply because I've been seeing some trends in our industry where people are pursuing a business without the right elements, the right factors in place, and it's setting them up for frustration and overwhelm and not being able to really pull off that next level growth. And now it's morphing into something even what I find more impactful because I'm having conversations behind the scenes with people who are really lost. And there's a couple things happening. I'll talk a little bit more about it in next week's session because there is something emerging right now with everything happening in our world. And what we used to do isn't working anymore. And I think many of us know that. Even if what you are doing is working, you're probably noticing it's slowed way down. And there are some very powerful things that we can step into right now that help us continue to grow our reach and our impact in the world and the revenue, but also to help us really evolve what we're meant to do and be in our purpose, which I think so many of us know the importance of. Today, what I want to talk about is the invisible expert syndrome. And this is a term that's kind of emerged. It's a lot like best kept secret syndrome because you do recognize you have expertise, but other people in your industry, especially the clients, are not recognizing it. And even though you've been doing this forever, you may feel like, oh my God, like I'm invisible, like people are not coming to me. And I think it's exacerbated right now because of some of the changes in buying patterns and all the noise in the industry. There's a flood of people who offer coaching and consulting and training. And how does your audience know you versus everyone else? And I like to study. I like to pay attention. I have conversations. I host these roundtable experiences for peers in my industry. And I'm asking the questions like, what's working, what's not working, where are things stuck? And what I keep hearing over and over and over again is, even if we are doing okay, it's not where it used to be. And even though they may not feel like an invisible expert, what I notice is there's two key camps. There's the people who they figured out how to make some stuff work and it's working, but not to the level it was before. And then there are people who they just feel like, yeah, they're a best kept secret. They're just invisible right now. Now, one of the things I want to acknowledge here is that this invisibility starts with the inside, and the transformation of your message comes from the inside out. Like your ability to activate your power of your message starts with the internal relationship you have with your expertise and your value. I'm going to talk about that more next week. Today, what I want to talk about is an awareness of some places where even though you're doing all the right things, there are some little subtle disconnects in your positioning of your brand and your message and your offers that are maybe turning your potential clients off. And at a best case scenario, it's keeping you in this invisibility, and at a maybe not so desirable level, it's forming this repelling behavior. Now, I learned something many years ago, back like in early 2000s, like 2001, 2002, I was hosting these events in LA every month. I was bringing, somewhere between 50 to maybe 90 people in LA, which is no small feat, by the way, in Los Angeles. But there were these amazing experts and mentors that I brought in to coach and train our audience. And one of the things that kept coming up was the idea of repelling versus attracting in our brand. And I first heard this from a man named Peter Montoya. And he talked about that in your messaging and in your brand positioning, it is your job to create an energetic relationship with your potential client that attracts the ones that are your ideal clients. These are your dream clients. These are the ones that you know that you can help. They're going to get the best results. They're action takers. They're going to lean in. And they're willing to invest money to go where you can take them, whether it's solving a problem or achieving a goal, right? But in the process, you have to repel everyone else. And part of the reason why I see so many amazing experts who have so much talent and so much power is their brand, their message, their positioning is so generic, and it's so there's no repelling energy, there's no attracting energy, and nobody knows how to say yes unless they already know you and they have a relationship with you. And I want to really bring that last point home. You have probably gotten clients because somebody really awesome referred them to you. They spoke highly of you. They didn't need all of the messaging and all of the brand energy. They just leaned right in. But when that dries up or it's not enough, and you try to open up to more leads coming in and you're trying to be more visible, if you don't have all of this brand and messaging energy dialed in, then that creates this invisibility. So that's once you got the inside stuff worked out, if that's showing up for you, if you're still feeling invisible, chances are you've got some disconnects. So here's some ways in which you may be subtly turning off a potential lead and not even knowing it. So we were talking a little bit about like your message is generic. It's not speaking to the needs and desires of your ideal client. And it's also not like repelling people. So you may end up attracting a lot of people who aren't buyers, people who do want you, but they're not willing to pay very much. And yet they want the world from you. They maybe are at the wrong stage in their journey to really benefit from what you do. So that's one sign that you've got a silent disconnect. Another one, and I see this happen a lot, is you've got too many offerings and possibly even too many offerings in completely different types of businesses. And when somebody starts to research you or runs across your stuff somewhere, they're like, I don't get it. I worked with a woman, such an amazing, highly talented person, and she was so passionate, and she literally hyper created. You know what that's like? When you get an idea and you think, oh, I'm supposed to create an offer around this. And she had so many different things she was doing, but she was struggling for sales. And I said, look, I'm not going to use her name just to protect her brand and her energy, but we'll just call her Lisa. Look, Lisa, your messaging is so confusing. Nobody knows what you do. So we really worked on honing it in, bringing together like this strategic positioning in the marketplace. So people got really clear, here is what I deliver for my clients. And here's how to know if you're my ideal client. That was huge, major shift. So another way this looks is you've got a really robust offering suite and your ideal clients don't know where to say yes. Like they don't know where to start with you. And that might be because you're constantly churning out different stages or different offerings in your offering suite, and then that client journey is a little muddled. Okay, so if the buyer doesn't know what you do and they don't have a specific clear, like, oh, I go to Heidi when I need this, or I go to Jennifer when I need that, or I go to John when I need this, and at least knows where to start the journey, then chances are it's just a disconnect and they're going where it's more clear. The second thing, and this one's a little, well, actually, I'll cover offerings and messaging. There is something that happens where, and I've seen this happen a lot with people who've been in a business a really long time, and they haven't evolved with the marketplace and with changes in terms of what the world is responding to, and their messaging and or their offerings have started to become irrelevant. I know, like, how could you become irrelevant, right? It's like people need what you do. But there is a time in which it's your responsibility to build a bridge between the world that your ideal client is in and your offers. And if you're not doing that with your messaging and the way you talk about and position your work, then chances are it's really easy just to pass you by because people don't get it. Now, irrelevant is a strong word. It could be that people just aren't clear, well, why you or why this now? And if your offers and messaging are too benign, if you will, if they don't have like a really clear why you need to do this embedded in it, it's really easy to just pass it by. I've worked with somebody in the past who was such a badass, like such an amazing person in the work they did in leadership, and they couldn't figure out why their clients weren't getting it. And what was happening was the messaging was so focused on what the process was. And I was like, and this is something I want you to write down and memorize it. If they don't know why they need it, they don't care what you do. They don't care what's involved. They're not searching for the process. We call it feature-driven marketing. They don't care about that until they know they want to work with you. So your job is to make your messaging relevant. And I'll go through that in a couple episodes. But here's where I want to spend a little more time today. And that's something about the energetics of your brand. Now, yeah, I am one woo on the woo-woo scale. And I do believe there is an energy that our brand and our message put out in the world. And our job is to figure out how to establish a brand, an experience that people have of our work. If you don't like the word brand, like just think like you're creating an experience for people in what you say, how you handle a lead and how you handle a client. And that's an energy, that's an energetic. And if your energy is off from, like, if there's a disconnect between the experience people have in your messaging or what you say you can deliver and what they're experiencing, like this creates this really subtle discord. And they may not even be able to put their finger on it, but they're like, like I can't quite put my finger on, but something just doesn't feel right about it. Okay. And so one thing about brand energetics is the more authentic and the more like you are so true to who you are and what you do and where your superpowers turn on and, like what you are proven in the marketplace to do, the more your brand energy expands, it becomes magnetic and compelling. The more you start to sound like everyone else because you don't really know what you do and you're just trying to emulate what somebody successful is doing, the more you lose the brand energy. So brand energetics, one of the tools I should say I use around this is human design. It's just one of the tools in my toolbox. And if you're familiar with human design, you know that there are different ways in which our energy is expansive and repelling, and different human design centers that, in your body that are active. They are energetically expanding when you know how to lean into them and use that energy. And just emulating someone else doesn't do that. It just makes you sound the same. So authenticity, really understanding like what sets you apart from everyone else. Even if you're like, I don't know, what does set somebody else apart from everybody else? Your clients, the people you work with, or there's something about your work that really sets you apart from everyone else. So you need to know what your brand authenticity is, and you need to lean into it, and you need to be bold with it. You need to follow your energetic profile and really let your brand do the heavy lifting. So that's in your ideal clients, that's in your delivery system for your programs, that's in terms of really understanding what do my ideal clients need and want from me, and where's the intersection of that with my most authentic superpower and what lights me up. The more you can lean into that and stop doing what you think you should be doing to make money or to like stay relevant, right? Like put all that away. What you need is to light up you and make that so exciting and so compelling and so magnetic with your messaging and your positioning and your visibility strategy that people are just like, oh my God, how do I get some of that? One of the ways I like to do that is through getting your message so dialed in and taking it on a tour, as I call borrowing other people's $1 million visibility streams. And when you do that and you're fired up about it and people feel that energy, there's no better way than being live in person for somebody to get, oh my gosh, I need that. So really getting that dialed in is a way to up your brand energetics. Okay. So we need to become aware of the silent disconnects that are keeping you invisible in your marketplace. You cannot sound the same. You cannot blend in. You cannot be safe. Stop trying to be safe in your little, like, I don't want to repel people, but you're not really attracting anybody either. Boldly claim what you're about and who you're for. Dial in your brand energetics and make sure you have clear, specific offerings that your ideal audience goes, boom, that's what I need. And don't be afraid to leave people behind. Okay. You're not trying to be everything to everybody. That's not who your ideal client base is. Okay. Unless you're Oprah, maybe, but even she still has her brand alignment. She knows who she's for. Okay. Figure out who you're for. Figure out who gets the best results from your work, and let's get your brand dialed in and get a message that when you amplify it in this way, you're on fire and you're making a great impact, and you're no longer the invisible expert. You're a recognized authority. Okay. So next episode, session, whatever we're going to call it, is I'm going to cover one thing that you must do. You must do this thing in order to be able to increase your impact in the world and make the money that you want to make in the process. Okay. And it's not what you think it is. It's not about selling, not directly. This is not about your offers, not directly, but it's something that's not being talked about enough. And I'm going to share it with you. Okay. So make sure you turn in next week. And if you have loved today's episode, or at least gotten an aha, would you share this with somebody who you think might need to hear it, or just comment, let me know what your aha was. Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.